Metal meets wood. It's an old story, but one that's producing some excellent furniture at the moment. Many talented makers with roots in wood have been blending other materials, mainly metal, into their furniture. Michael Robbins builds furniture in a former garment factory in Philmont, New York, a small town in the Hudson River Valley. Robbins came into furniture making through carpentry, working on a timber frame house in Vermont and a couple of adobes in New Mexico. With a background in photography and no formal training in woodworking, Robbins says he feels free to experiment. When it occurred to him to add a bar of brass to a bench he was making, he simply gave it a whirl, ordered the brass, and screwed it to the bench. The move instantly elevated the appeal of the piece. Since then, Robbins has made quite a few variations on the bench and adopted the design for a chair and other pieces. Greg Klassen studied at the woodworking program founded by James Krenov in California and then spent a year at the Malmsten School in Sweden. So for him, a love of wood is at the foundation of furniture making. But he finds that pairing wood with contrasting materials can highlight its beauty. He makes table legs by sandwiching wood between steel plates. In this arrangement, the steel provides all the strength that's needed, and with its smooth, cool sleekness, it provides a counterpoint to the live-edge tabletop. To bring an accent of metal to the tabletop, Klassen inlays butterfly keys cut from the same sheet of steel as the legs. For a different kind of contrast, he uses powder-coated steel legs and keys. Working in another vein, Klassen designed a chair with a sculpted wood seat and a spare steel rod frame. Peter Harrison is ambidextrous. He's perfectly at home working wood, but he's just as skillful manipulating metal, and he's a master of mixing the two. The main part of the woodshop he built beside his house near Saratoga Springs, New York, is stocked with big old woodworking machines that he bought cheap and restored beautifully. Open a drawer, though, and you can see a machinist's cast of mind reflected there. And it turns out that around the corner, he's got a room brimming with equipment bound to make a metalworker burst out smiling. The drawers in here further attest to Harrison's delight in precision. Harrison has been combining metal and wood in his furniture, along with concrete in some pieces, since graduating from the Rochester Institute of Technology's program in wood in the 1990s. And his furniture continues to illustrate the pleasures and benefits of blending them. Seattle furniture maker Stewart Wurtz was thoroughly trained in wood. While still a teenager in his native Maine, he worked at the Thomas Moser Company. And later, he studied under Jerry Osgood, a wizard at bending and shaping wood. But Wurtz has long since made metal a prominent part of his furniture-making vocabulary. He likes it for its visual and tactile contrast with wood, and for its ability to do things structurally that wood can't. He typically designs the metal parts and has them fabricated by an iron worker or machine shop. Then he has parts finished by a specialist in metal patinas. With the aluminum stretchers on his stools, which thread together and then get epoxied to the legs, Wurtz will sometimes use an abrasive pad and an angle grinder to produce a finish he calls quilted aluminum. And in a detail that brings a glint of metal to the sensuous surface of the stool, he'll lock the through leg tenons with aluminum wedges. Father and son furniture makers Bob and Tor Erickson are deeply devoted to wood. From their home and workshop way off the grid in the Sierra Nevada of Northern California, they seem to find some of the most beautiful planks on the planet, and sometimes some of the biggest. But increasingly in recent years, their passion for stunning wood has been matched by a fascination with metal. In some cases, they work the metal themselves, as with the brass gussets on this outdoor table in elm. For other pieces, they have a machine shop produce the parts, like these brass legs, which thread together, enabling the Ericksons to make a knockdown table out of some knockout California walnut. For their work in wrought steel, the Ericksons collaborate with various blacksmiths. And recently, their wrought steel tables have led to wrought steel chairs. It's hard to know where the Ericksons' material explorations will take them next, but you can be sure these two innovators have something sensational up their sleeve.